Prayers. It's something many of us heard as children, but we have Reverend Rev Ford, who's written a book with that same title, Don't Forget to Say Your Prayers. Now, you've been journaling most of your life,
yes,
right? But the issue of prayer started from your grandmother,
yes,
right? That was Sylvia Fulton,
yes,
who back then they always told you to say your prayers. At that time, did you really find any kind of meaning or substance in that, or what did...
Well, I think when you're young, you don't, you listen to your grandparents, but you don't really, I don't want to say you don't do it. You do, the first prayer I learned was, "Now lay me down to sleep."
You say a little half-hearted prayer at night, right?
I said that a lot when I was, a youngster and growing up, even in my teen years. But until you really go through something, you don't really learn the value of prayer. You don't really, flash back and have a remembrance of why your grandmother told you to say your prayers. She always told us that talking to God was important and that he's a God that does answer prayer. And anything that you need, if you ask him sincerely for it and believe that you have it, you can obtain it. So
now you found yourself in despair and dealing with some very personal tragedies. You lost your daughter,
yes,
and then your husband in a short period of time. Let's talk about your daughter first, Danielle. She died at 30 years old.
Yes.
Tell us what happened there.
All right, my daughter got married in 2006 to a young man that she met at Hampton University, and after a while of courting and a short engagement, they got married in 2006. They had a little bit of difficulty getting pregnant, and so she had a couple little surgeries, and then ultimately she was able to conceive. So in 2009, July the 5th, 2009, she did give birth to my granddaughter, Jayla. Nothing, no problem. All through the pregnancy, she had normal things happening, bloating, morning sickness, but nothing abnormal according to the doctors. But shortly after she gave birth to Jayla, she started losing weight drastically. I mean, she was about 200 maybe pounds when she gave birth, and within a month's time, she had dropped like 30 pounds, and that's not normal. And she began to get jaundice. She was a biology major, so she was aware of the symptoms, of jaundice, and that there was something wrong. And after going to the doctor, emergency room actually, because she was in quite a lot of pain, having CAT scans, MRIs, and whatnot, they discovered that she had a problem with her gallbladder. She had gallstones. But she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
Those were other symptoms.
Now, pancreatic cancer is one of the more...
that is one of the worst
debilitating
cancers, because by the time they detect it, it's usually stage 4.
Right, and it's a very painful cancer.
And it's very painful. She was always in pain from the onset until she passed.
And it's rare for someone at 30 years old to have that, right?
The doctor said that it was incredibly rare for a 30-year-old to get pancreatic cancer. And they weren't very, I won't say they weren't helpful. They weren't really,
they couldn't do much.
They couldn't do much.
Yeah.
And I was a little upset because they were very anxious to tell her. You had internists and residents, and of course, they're gung-ho about finding the causes and things, and their bedside manner is not always the best.
Right.
And so when, a resident or whatever gave her the news, she was actually appalled, and, her faith was strong, and she kind of said, well, whatever it is, God can heal it if he desires.
But she passed in what year?
She passed in 2010.
Right.
About 14 months.
And now Jayla is how old?
Jayla is 3 now.
Right, and now she's a pride and joy for you, a young, little girl.
Yes, she is.
But now after your daughter dies, and before your book is published, your husband of 37 years.
Yes.
Now what happened there? We have about 3 minutes. What happened?
My husband, he's had complained about shortness of breath. Went to the doctor. He was a big guy, really big guy. He had diabetes and some other ailments.
What did they diagnose him with? We have
lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
Never smoked. Nothing. He had this shortness of breath. Went to the doctor. The doctor treated him.
Odd cancers, right?
Yeah.
Didn't smoke and
did not smoke. And by the time, we went into the hospital October the 3rd, and the 28th, he passed.
So how soon after your daughter? Within the
exact year to the date
Exact date.
Exact date
Wow.
and month, which was incredible. I was totally blown away.
So this is 1 year later, though.
This is
1 year later on the same day.
On the same day.
Wow.
Yes.
So
I was in a fog. I was in a fog. I just couldn't believe that, he would pass
1 year
on
to
the same day.
Both cancers that were sort of odd type cancers for their age, and he didn't smoke at all. So now, how are you feeling now? You lost your daughter, your husband. Starting to despair. There's the loneliness. What's going through your mind at that time, and how do you come out of it?
I was just really in a fog. When my husband died, it was not only that he died, but that next day we had that Storm Alfred. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine me trying to plan a funeral with no lights, nothing. I couldn't even get to the funeral director for several days, and I couldn't even meet with them until maybe like 3 or 4 days, almost close to the funeral.
How does prayer? We have about 90 seconds.
Prayer is what kept me. Prayer is what stabilized me. I had a support group of women that I prayed with for like 15 years.
What do you pray for?
I pray for comfort. I pray for peace. And of course, when you're going through this, you're questioning God, did you hear me? Because I have strong faith. And sometimes we think that...
Did you lose faith when you had something like that happen?
I didn't really lose faith, but I did get angry at God.
Yeah.
I did ask him some questions, because I read the Word. Your Word says you're a healer. And so I had some conflicting,
how do you overcome
that?
When you're angry at God and you're a spiritual woman and a prayerful woman, how do you resolve that conflict? What does he say to you?
I really had to, sometimes we pray to God and we ask him for it. Most of the time we're asking for things from him. Or I prayed asking him to heal her. And then when he didn't, I'm like, okay, what's up, God? I had to come to the conclusion that God is God whether he heals or not. I had to come to the conclusion that he's sovereign. He gets to do whatever he wants to. He wants us to pray. He wants us to trust him, all right? But he doesn't always. We can't just boss God.
Are you closer to him now because of this ordeal?
I'm closer to him now because of the ordeal. Because I know that he's sovereign. I know that if he allowed that and he allowed that to happen, I know that some good has to come out of it. To come out of it.
I'm gonna bet that good is
it's birthing that's the good, and it's birthing my ministry out of my pain, because I had to stop crying. I was crying every night.
And your ministry, your website is what?
It's called Don't Forget to Say Your Prayers.
All right, so you're using your website and your ministry now to help others through Charity Heals.
Through the
that was
process.
Sort of the blessing that you're able to help other people grieving. Okay, and Little Jill is doing great.
She is a star. Right. She's awesome.
And how are you doing? How do you still?
I'm doing well. I am. I'm getting over. I'm just moving on with my life. I think sometimes people of faith, see people of faith, and they believe that we don't go through things like regular people.
But you do.
But we do.
All right. Don't forget to say your prayers, folks. That's the book. Again, thanks to all our guests, Reverend Lydia Ford, and also Donna Mori. Catch our show 24/7, CT.Now.com. Friend us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. For the good folks here at Fox Connecticut, I'm Stan Simpson. And the morning news is next.